Hello everyone, welcome along. It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. It's the number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show with me, Nigel Seeley, your host, and our ATP Tour handicapper. It is Sean Calvert, looking ahead to the Wimbledon men's singles semi-finals. Good morning to you, Sean. Nice and early. How are you?
It is extremely early. I'm all right, thanks. Yeah, I think my voice will hold up throughout this show. I do still have the lingering effects of my 12-week virus, which is a bit still stuck in there a bit, but I think my voice is okay. But probably more relevantly, how's your voice this morning?
My voice has never got any problems. I can talk for England. No problem about that. It's absolutely no problem. My voice.
Fair
it's
enough.
My body and my knees and my legs and my lungs and my head that's the problem.
So everything else.
But other than that, it's good. Yeah, everything else is the problem. But England get through to the Euro 2024 final. It was a great night last night in Dortmund. I think I got into my hotel room about 3:30, 4:15 this morning. Was on the wrong train heading towards Eindhoven.
That's definitely the wrong way. I mean, I'm not an expert in geography, but I'm pretty sure that's going towards Holland or Netherlands, whatever you want to call it now. And where are you? You're supposed to be in what? Berlin? Where even are you?
Dusseldorf. I'm in Dusseldorf at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely the wrong way.
Well,
you're gonna have to get.
I had no percentage on my phone, so my battery had died, which is a usual occurrence for me. Anyone who knows me knows I've always got low battery.
So you had to find your own way home without Google Maps.
So, with no Google Maps, and I just realised this is not right. And I got off this train station in the middle of nowhere, and I had to wait about 1 hour, 25 minutes for a train to come back the other direction.
Well, I don't think trains are that regular at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, are they? I mean, I'm no expert in the European rail system, but I can't imagine there's frequent trains from on the way to Eindhoven to Dusseldorf at 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe there is, I don't know.
Well, I if there isn't, there should do. I had I had about 1% of my phone. I tried to get an Uber, and wherever I was, they wanted €300 to get the Uber.
Danger money.
So I was like you, Sean. I was staying till 5 in the morning to get the $1 bus back to.
Now you know what it's like to be me. Did you enjoy it?
I'd rather be paying €300 to get the cab home in safe and sound.
It'll do you good. It'll do you good to be wandering about and just getting the feel for things and using public transport. It'll stand you in good stead, I'm sure, for future trips. But I want to say thanks actually, because I took a couple of your little suggestions last night. Made myself a few quid. I'd never heard of Dumfries, but I had him to be booked. I had Harry Kane to score in England. I threw in England to qualify as well. So. Yeah, nice. Cheers. Thanks for that. So it was a good night for me. I quite enjoyed it.
It was a good night. And obviously anyone who followed the Bet Rivers socials would have seen that same game parlay that I gave. The thing is, though, even a broken watch is right twice a day, isn't it?
Fortunately for me, the correct one did turn up at that exact time. So, I was happy with that. Thanks.
Yeah, it was a good night. England head to Berlin. I'll be going to Berlin. I'm getting a flight tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to move out of this hotel, go to another area, and get a hotel flight. And I'm going to get a flight to Berlin for the final. Follow all my adventures on Instagram on the Because We Win account, at Because We Win, and across socials as well, at Because We Win. Anyway, enough about Euro 2024. We've got a show coming on, the final for that. We'll get you all covered. This is about Wimbledon semi-finals, and we have 2 matches for you to cover for tomorrow. The first match we're going to speak about is Novak Djokovic against Lorenzo Musetti. Novak Djokovic is minus 770 in this match. Musetti is $5. We gave a pick on Musetti that will cash very easily. He's a 6.5 underdog on the spread. Minus 124 for the Italian, plus 6.5. Minus 104 for Djokovic, who came through without even having to serve a ball against Alex de Minaur after that unbelievable bit of bad luck. How bad is my luck that he loses the match?
I mean, literally, not literally, but it feels like everybody is injured. I could name you so many players that have been injured, even since I was at Wimbledon, which was a week ago. You got Hurkacz, you got Zverev, Sinner was ill, Dimitrov injured himself, de Minaur, even Fritz injured himself on the penultimate point last night. And those are just the ones I can remember off the top of my head. I mean, it's and Djokovic obviously isn't fit, or we'll talk about him in a minute. But
claims he isn't fit.
The injuries. I mean, I've never done anything. This Wimbledon's been quite a record break. I think it's also holds the record now for most comebacks from love 2 down in sets. That I think there's been about 12.
What do you put that down to? What do you put that down to?
I think that's just an anomaly. I don't think there's anything that you could really. Some of it's injury related. For example, the Fritz one against Zverev, and a couple of others that wouldn't have happened. This is what makes it so hard for the underdogs. I should also say this has been a terrible tournament for underdogs. Just going back to the set thing, if you're 2 sets up as a inferior player, if you want to call it that, you've got to rely on being fully fit to carry on and win it over 5. But if the conditioning fades, then you've got a problem. You can easily go from 2 sets to love to 2-3. But just talking about underdogs, only 17% of them have won so far this Wimbledon. There's only 18% in the French Open, so it's been they're normally poor tournaments anyway for underdogs, but these are exceptionally bad. Until Musetti won yesterday, there hadn't been a genuine underdog winner that didn't involve injury or illness since I was at Wimbledon watching Comersana for 4 hours.
He just managed to scrape through as well. It wasn't easy. That was an easy one.
Well, yeah, I was there and I got my head burnt for it. But after that, I'd been home for 4 or 5 days. Not a single underdog winner that wasn't related to injury or illness. Medvedev, yes, due to illness for Sinner. Fritz, yes, due to injury for Zverev. No other underdog winners at all until Musetti yesterday. We had him 18.5 player games or more, didn't we? That covered extremely easily. But you always look back at those bets, don't you? And think, I should have been a bit braver. But I didn't see Musetti getting the job done, to be honest. But there we go. I digress. We're talking about Djokovic, Musetti now, aren't we?
I'm more worried about you burn your head.
It's all right now.
And it seems to have bothered you. You said that
bother me. I'm just saying.
It hasn't been Well, you haven't had an underdog winner since you burnt your head.
I wasn't connecting the two things. I was just saying. I said.
Well, it's one of the points I picked up on.
I said since I watched Comersana at Wimbledon, and then I threw in the bit about getting my head burnt because I was there for so many hours, and it was like random bits of sun followed by, cold temperatures. But the point was that there's been hardly any very laboured point. But the point is, there's been very few underdog winners. 17%, I think it is, which is even worse than the usual sort of 24, 25%. So both the French and Wimbledon, particularly bad for dog winners. So there you go.
So we've got a big dog here, Musetti. Big dog. He's $5. I'm thinking he'd be quite popular. People at $5. He's 6.5 underdog on the spread. Has he got a chance? Could we end the run of favourites with Musetti?
I wouldn't have thought so. It depends, doesn't it, if Djokovic is fit or not? Once again, I feel like I'm talking about injuries again. I heard somebody saying that there was a video going around of Djokovic limping or something from yesterday. I don't know whether that's true or not. You see these social media videos. I didn't see that one, but apparently it's a thing. Is he fit again or is he just playing up for the cameras? You just don't know with Novak Djokovic. I feel like I've said this about Djokovic for about 10, 15 years. In every major, is he fit? Is he not fit? If he's fit, he wins. Musetti does have it in him to press Djokovic for a period, but Djokovic just goes into lockdown mode, and eventually he'll squeeze the errors out of Musetti. I mean, Musetti was allowed to do what he wanted by Taylor Fritz yesterday, because it's a point that I've made again many, many times, is that Fritz just won't come to the net. He will not go there, and you can see why. His volleying is dreadful. Although he did come up with 1 or 2 absolute beauties, Fritz, on the volleying, but generally it's horrible. He looks like a fish out of water there. He just won't go to the net, so Musetti could just slice all day long. If you're returning with a slice, like Musetti was a lot of the time, most players, or the more accomplished players, they'll just come into the net and volley it and take that option away. Fritz won't do it. He just won't. He has to play from the back for whatever reason. Until he gets it in his head that he's got to go to the net, he's always going to be limited against the top players. I've said this many, many times. Djokovic is not going to let Musetti away with that. He's not going to let him play safe with the slices. Djokovic will come in. He'll force Musetti to hit one more ball, and ultimately it'll be too much for Musetti. If we look at the head-to-head, excuse me, just looking at the last 5 matches, because the first one was sort of skewed because it was the first 2 sets to Musetti at the French Open, and then he completely fell away, didn't he? So those stats aren't really very helpful. But if you look at the last 5 matches, head-to-head, most of them on clay, a couple on hard. Service points won and return points won totals. Djokovic 109, Musetti 91. It's a pretty big gap, and that's on Musetti's supposedly favoured surface. Djokovic has won 46% of the return points. He's winning, getting on for half of Musetti's service points in those matches. I know it's on clay. Most of them are on clay anyway. And Musetti's only holding serve 57% of the time. I mean, those matches are on clay and hard. Okay, they're not perhaps 100% relevant to this, but now we're moving on to Djokovic's favoured surface, aren't we? He's not been broken yet on the grass this summer. I know he's only played 4 matches, but 100% holds and the service points won and return points won, total of 116. Musetti's been great as well. 86% holds, 86% win rate, and a service points won and return points won, total of 105. I think Musetti will have periods in this where he kind of catches fire and he wins a couple of games, maybe gets a break up, maybe even nicks a set, maybe. But Djokovic, he's only lost to 2 players with a single-handed backhand on grass ever. I think you can probably guess one of them. I should imagine you can.
I'll give it.
Yes. Can you guess the other one?
Richard Gasquet.
No, the other one it's hard. The other one is Tommy Haas.
No.
That's how far we're going back. His last loss to a single-hander was 2012. He's 28-3, Djokovic, against single-handed players on grass. Haas beat him twice, actually, on grass. The other thing we've got to throw into this is the nerves for Musetti. This is will be Djokovic's 49th Grand Slam semi-final match, and he tends to win most of them pretty easy, unless he's up against a Nadal or whatever. Musetti's going to be nervous, isn't he? Coming out here in a Grand Slam semi-final at Wimbledon, centre court, presumably, against Novak Djokovic. I think it's a big ask. I can't see Musetti winning unless there's a major injury problem for Novak Djokovic. But the most likely outcome here is a relatively comfortable Djokovic win. I think potentially the way to go. It's difficult to bet. We don't know how Djokovic is going to be, but under 35.5 would be my lean here, my instinct here at minus 114, 1.88 with Bet Rivers. I think that's probably the way to go.
I think the other thing that helps him as well, obviously, is that he hasn't had to play. Musetti's
I forgot about that. But yes.
Setter. Djokovic hasn't had to play against him, and always, if he had an injury doubt, he's got an extra day's rest to be able to secure it. And Musetti's come through a 3.5 hour match against. Yeah, so that helps it as well. So that brings in the under as well. A lot of people will be looking at Novak Djokovic, and when we talk about Novak Djokovic, we spoke about him on the last time we spoke about the show when we talked about it. If he can actually win Wimbledon this year with a knee surgery, with the abdominal problems he's had, this must go down as one of his greatest performances ever, surely, at the age he is as well.
Yeah. The age of, 37? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could caveat that. You could look at it and say, well, he's had an extremely comfortable draw, and he has. Capriva in the first round, Jacob Fernley, the young British wild card, Popyrin, who's certainly not got the minerals to beat a top player on a big court at Wimbledon, you wouldn't have thought, or certainly hasn't shown it so far. Then a terrible, terrible performance from Holger Rune, don't get me started on that. And then a walkover. And then Musetti in the semi-final. If you'd have said that to Djokovic, right, that's what you're going to get, he'd have signed up for that in a heartbeat, wouldn't he? I mean, it has been a very comfortable draw indeed, but he hasn't won it yet. He's going to have a very tough match, I would imagine, in the final if he does get past Musetti. I mean, Musetti has got the chance of at least the way he plays when he catches fire. He's beautiful to watch, and that might be enough for him to extend this match a little, but I can't see him beating Djokovic in a Grand Slam at Wimbledon, semi-final. I just don't see it.
So the lean in Novak Djokovic against Lorenzo Musetti is under 35.5 games with Bet Rivers. Head across to the Bet Rivers website. There is a multitude of different markets on this match already. And tomorrow, and when the match starts, there'll be more markets added. Remember, Bet Rivers is offering a Wimbledon live bet insurance all tournament long. Each day, Bet Rivers will insure your first Wimbledon in-play bet of the day and give you up to 50% of your bet back in bonuses if your bet loses. Terms and conditions apply. Go to the Bet Rivers app for full details before you bet. So great in-play bet there. We don't think it's going to go long. You think the value is the under 35.5. But the next match, I think, potentially could go quite long. And it's the match between defending Wimbledon champion Carlos Alcaraz up against Daniil Medvedev, who shocked everybody by beating Jannik Sinner. An unfit Jannik Sinner, but I do think that Medvedev played well, and I don't think he got the credit he deserves for that win. Minus 335 for Alcaraz, 255, plus 255 for Medvedev. The spread here is 4.5, minus 107 for Medvedev, minus 120 for Alcaraz, giving up the 4.5. 39.5, and the total here a little bit higher than the Lorenzo Musetti match at 39.5. If you look at the head-to-head record between the two of them, it's 6 matches they played, 4-2 in favour of the Spaniard Alcaraz, and none of the matches. Let's have a look at them. Have they played on grass before?
Yeah,
yes, twice. Semi-final here, both of them. Was very easy. 3-0 to Alcaraz in last year at the semi-final. And in the second round in 2021, Medvedev won 6-4, 6-1, 6-2.
Alcaraz was number 75 in the world when he was very young.
Let me just ask you the question. I think I touched on it there. I mean, I was in Cologne and I was watching that Sinner match. And I know Sinner had his problems, but I think he played on the problems as the game went on. I think obviously when it went into the second set, it was clear Sinner had a problem. When it went into the fifth set, Sinner walked off hobbling. But I don't think the injury was as bad. I thought Medvedev played exceptionally well because Sinner raised his game in set 3 and set 4, and Medvedev matched him. And I think we're not giving the plaudits to Medvedev he should have done for that performance.
I don't think it was an injury so much with Sinner as some sort of illness. He said they're very guarded about this. I don't know why he's guarded once he's gone out of a tournament. It's not like he's got to play another match. I don't just say, but I think it was an illness of some description. I mean, he had his vital signs checked, didn't he, by the doctor? He came on court. He disappeared for about, I think it was 11 minutes. Sinner. I don't think it was an injury. I think he got some sort of bug or virus or sickness or something like that. So I think Sinner was doing the best he could with what he had, which wasn't much, I don't think. It wasn't the usual Sinner. There was no power in there wasn't the same power in his shots, which made it obviously easier for Medvedev. I mean, yeah, okay, he's won it, Medvedev, and he's done what he's had to do, but I think that was like a 60% fit Sinner. There was just nothing really coming back from him.
I'm not so sure, you know. In set 4, he won the set 6-2. He was playing some of the best. He was going for shots. It was fantastic. And everybody, you know, you look at sport with momentum. People were thinking, okay, Sinner's going to come on and win it. And I know a lot of in-play bettors with Bet Rivers would have taken Sinner there, and he didn't show any signs of illness or anything in set 4. And then at the end when he shook hands, he hobbled over and shook hands, and he sort of made out he was injured.
Well,
but
yeah, that's.
I think that we've been a little bit disrespectful for Medvedev actually. I thought he beat Sinner fair, and I just think that we were looking for the reasons why he didn't play so well, but the reasons why Sinner wasn't 100%. But I thought Medvedev was excellent.
He was, but I still think it was a nowhere near fit Sinner that he beat. I mean, it's kind of not that relevant to this matchup. It's a very, very different matchup, but yeah, there's that way of looking at it for sure. I mean, we don't know how.
I think it is relevant. I think it is relevant. Sorry, Sean. I think it is relevant because I think that the market. If he won 6-3, 6-2, 6-1 against a fully fit, the market would reflect that performance. But I don't think the market is being respectful for Medvedev's performance, and hence the reason why he is. But we all know that, you know, he's got a poor record against Alcaraz, but I just don't think the market's factoring in. It's saying, okay, he beat Sinner, but Sinner was not at his best. I'm not buying into that. I thought Medvedev played well.
In which case, you're on Medvedev, aren't you? Then at plus 255.
Well, I mean,
some way of backing.
I've been looking to fade Alcaraz. I mean, the whole tournament, my fade was Alcaraz, and my fade is Djokovic. Is going to be the final. So I'm probably not the person to actually discuss it. But I do think Medvedev's got a chance, and I don't think Alcaraz is playing well. What with it? But I'm only giving my opinion. I want to know what your opinion is.
I think it's a poor matchup for Medvedev. It's always been a poor matchup for Medvedev. He's got to do one or two things to beat Alcaraz. Either play brilliantly, which he did in the US Open. He gave himself 11 out of 10. I think was his comment when he beat Alcaraz at the US Open, which was kind of unexpected. Or he's got to come out of his comfort zone, which in a way, credit to him. For this against Sinner, he did change his return position a bit against Sinner. It was difficult for me to watch because both matches were on at the same time, weren't they? The Alcaraz-Paul match and the Sinner Medvedev, they were both on at exactly the same time, so I had to keep flicking between the two, which was annoying. But he certainly changed his court position a few times against Sinner, and he's definitely going to have to do that against Alcaraz because it's, you know, the head-to-head it's not great. Last 5 matches, we can forget that first one because Sinner was. Sinner. Got me talking about Sinner now. Alcaraz was very young. if we look at the service points won and return points won of those last 5 matches, Alcaraz 107, Medvedev 93. So pretty big advantage for Alcaraz. Breaking that down, Medvedev only wins 43% of his second serve points compared to 57% for Alcaraz. And Medvedev only wins 31% of return points, which is probably to do with his court positioning. And he's played him a couple of times, I think. He's played him, a couple of times at Indian Wells, which is, perfect conditions for Alcaraz. But the weakness for Medvedev is that they're twofold. He stands too far back to return, and it gives Alcaraz has got so many options. He's not like a Taylor Fritz. Against Taylor Fritz, you wouldn't have a problem with Medvedev standing where he is because it's going to be every rally is going to be baseline. But Alcaraz can come in. He's very adept at serve volley. He's fabulous at drop shots. He's great up at the net. Powerful forehand. He can beat you in so many ways. Whereas if you look at Medvedev, he's a little bit more one-dimensional in comparison. And the second serve of Medvedev is a weakness for me. He hit a lot of double faults against Sinner, and I think that's because he's trying to get more out of it. It's not a great second serve. It does sit up and kind of invite on grass. It tends to sit up and it lets people attack it. He only wins 49% of his second serve points on grass, Medvedev. That's against everybody, not just against Alcaraz. So that's a weakness. So he's going to need to, he's going to need to do one of those two things. He's going to either have to do what he doesn't want to do, which is stand very, very close to the baseline to return the serve. He doesn't like doing that. He says he hasn't got the reflexes or the coordination to return serve that close, which is why he likes standing back. But he's either got to change that up or he's got to play fabulously well, which is possible, of course. But because, as you say, I don't think Alcaraz has been overall that great this Wimbledon. I've seen most of his matches.
It's been a poor Wimbledon, hasn't it, Sean? It's been a very poor Wimbledon.
It's been a strange one with all the injuries, hasn't it? That hasn't really helped because these top guys haven't been tested. The Dimitrovs, the Hurkacz, the Diminors, these guys, all injured. Zverev, you would have that's 4 players there who would have been contenders for this title, or at least contenders to get to the semis and the final, and they've gone by the wayside due to injury. So, Djokovic has ended up playing nobody really. Alcaraz has been tested by pretty much everybody he played. Marc Leal tested him in the first match for a couple of sets. Tiafoe could have beaten him in 4 sets. Tommy Paul was a set in the break-up and then just completely lost his way. So, looking at the stats of Alcaraz and Medvedev this Wimbledon, they're both exactly the same. Service points won and return points won, totals of 107. You could certainly argue that Alcaraz has had a tougher draw. Medvedev had that retirement, didn't he, off Dimitrov and, arguably an unwell Sinner. But ultimately, Alcaraz has been playing patchy. He's raised his game when he's had to raise his game, like when he was a set in a breakdown against Tommy Paul. Admittedly, Paul dropped off, but Alcaraz came on heavily, strongly. And against Tiafoe, he was a tiebreak away from losing, and he played a brilliant tiebreak. And you think to yourself, why is he saving this level for only when he's behind? It's a bit like watching England. Saving their best play.
Exactly what I was just about to say.
Yeah, it is like that, isn't it? And when he plays, but once he got on top of Tommy Paul, he was great. He was brilliant for certainly the final set and bits of the set before that as well. So he's raising his game when he has to. That's the thing about Alcaraz. He's got a lot of ways to figure you out. Medvedev doesn't really. He's not comfortable coming forward. He will do it, and he did do it to his credit quite a lot against Sinner. I think he's going to have to do that again, and I'm sure he will because he's got to against Alcaraz. But he doesn't like doing it, and he's not comfortable doing it. But it's kind of up to Medvedev how he wants to play this. It's going to be Alcaraz, I think, unless Medvedev comes up with this 11 out of 10 performance again. I think it's a big ask on grass. I think he's good for a set, I would suggest. I'd be surprised if Alcaraz, the way he's been playing this Wimbledon as a whole, I'd be kind of surprised if he cleans this up in 3. I would suggest Alcaraz to win it 3-1 feels about right. That's a plus 245 chance of Bet Rivers. That's probably where I'd be going here. I think I'd want a juicy price about these semi-finals if I was having a bet. But yeah, ultimately, Medvedev's got to play either fabulously well, 110% of his powers, or he's going to have to come up with a game plan that he's not comfortable with and probably doesn't want to do. That's the gist of it.
We're looking at a Novak Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz final for Sean. There's ways to play it. The under 35.5 on totals. With Musetti, Djokovic is the bet. And we're going to go for Alcaraz to win 3-1. Neither of these are official picks, I'm gathering, Sean. None of them will be official picks.
Yeah, they're
leans,
just leans, yeah. I don't think our P&L's been updated since that Musetti win, but never mind.
No,
Maybe
but it's
it
saying
has.
minus 547. But let's just call it minus 4 units. We just make it up as we go along. But minus 4 units, we're going to go for the game bet match on the profit. Listen, it will be updated. I think that everyone's excused for last night not updating the price because England were playing and got through to the European Championship final. The first time ever that England have been involved in a major tournament final outside of English shores, and I will be there in Berlin for you at Because We Win on Instagram and Twitter. Make sure you download the podcast Betting Weekly Game Bet Matching preferred podcast provider, and make sure you subscribe to Betting Weekly Studios on YouTube. So many new subscribers, lots of comments, lots of questions. It's brilliant to see you all in. Any questions you want, we're happy to answer. As you see on our comments list below, we're always happy to answer the questions. Just Sean, give us a little recap. What do you think's going to happen with Wimbledon? The Wimbledon final is going to be Alcaraz Djokovic, yeah?
I would think so, yeah. If you fancy a bet, I would suggest in the Musetti Djokovic match unders. Under 35.5 games is currently a minus 114 chance for Bet Rivers. And if you fancy a little bit of pizza money on the other one, Alcaraz against Medvedev, I would suggest 3-1 Alcaraz plus 245 for Bet Rivers.
I've got to keep the meter running because the maid is knocking on my door to say, I need to get out. The extension of the room. I'm heading to Berlin. Follow me. I'll be in Berlin for Friday when we do, or Saturday actually, when we do the show with myself and Sean looking at the Wimbledon final. We expect it to be Novak Djokovic against Carlos Alcaraz. I give Medvedev a chance. I don't think the market has really given him the credit for that performance against Sinner. I think the market is thinking that Sinner was injured, and I don't think they're factored into the price. But I think I give Medvedev a little chance. I think he's going to go 12 out of 10, not 11 out of 10. Hopefully this show... Getting up this morning, my mark out of 10 would be 6 out of 10 on my performance today, not 11 out of 10. Get up in the morning, but it's nice and early after last night. But anyway, Sean, thank you very much for your time. I'll speak to you on Saturday. I've got to get out of the room, got to get a flight, heading to Berlin, Euro final as well. Podcast coming on that as well, new show, Betting Weekly Studios. Make sure you subscribe. Thank you very much for subscribing. Have a great day and good luck for your bets.